Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Only Football Podcast. Tonight, we're recapping week 16. Happy holidays. Hopefully, you guys watched your favorite team win or possibly lose on the holidays. Hopefully, it was a gift. And if not, you got a lump of coal. We are then moving into our Thursday night football predictions. And as always, we're going to end with a little chives with Kyle. Let's get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Only Football Podcast post-Christmas, pre-New Year's, post-Week 16, pre-Week 17. I'm Kyle, and that's Rick.
I'm Rick, that's Kyle.
And some of us won, and like Rick said in the intro, some of us took some L's and got Christmas ruined. Christmas was ruined. In hundreds of thousands of households due to passionate fan bases getting big fat L's. We're going to go through which teams lost, which teams won, the biggest winners of week 16. And we're going to start with Saturday, where there was a triple header. And we're going to start with the first game, which was the Steelers and the Bengals. Steelers put up a season high 34 points. They're staying alive in the playoffs after coming off a bunch of bad losses. This was really unexpected, I think, for a lot of people. The Bengals were playing really well. They were able to beat which defense was that? The Vikings. They were able to beat the Jags. They were able to beat the Browns, I think. And now all of a sudden they get rolled by a struggling Steelers team. It's definitely a little surprising. What was your takeaway on this one?
This one was definitely surprising. I had the Bengals winning this one. I had Jake Browning kind of having another good game. Nothing spectacular, but definitely better than Mason Rudolph. Which, do you remember, Kyle, the last time that Mason Rudolph made a start or an appearance in a regular season football game for the Steelers? Do you remember how long ago that was?
A start.
Or an appearance, actually, just an appearance.
I'm going to say 2019.
Over 2 years ago. You were close, but it was only over 2 years ago that Mason Rudolph has made an appearance in a Steelers game. And, I mean, what an appearance, what a start this was on week 16 on the Christmas Eve. Rudolph threw for 290 yards, 2 long touchdowns to George Pickens, who had 4 receptions, 195 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And the Steelers swept the Bengals for the first time since 2019. Again, just craziness happening with the Steelers. Again, Rudolph, the most punchable face in the NFL, actually wasn't as punchable. Didn't look as punchable, even though I think Kyle might disagree. But he didn't look as punchable this game because, again, he led his team to a score. Jake Browning, unfortunately, 3-2 now as a starter. He had a pretty big game, 335 yards, a touchdown, but was picked off 3 times by the Steelers defense. And this Steelers defense has had a lot of injuries too so far this season. So for them to have the game they had, it's something to say and some credit to give to the Pittsburgh defense. T. Higgins again showed up in this game, 5 receptions, 140 yards, and an 80-yard touchdown pass. But Cincinnati, 0 for 3 in the red zone, 0 for 2 on fourth downs, even though they were averaging 6 yards per play. And the Bengals didn't score in the first half, dude. They turned the ball over twice, and those were, what was it? I think one of them was in the red zone. Yeah, man, it was just an all-around bad offensive game for the Bengals. I mean, and even Browning got sacked 3+ times. They were singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I don't know if you heard that from the Pittsburgh crowd.
Yikes.
That's how bad. That's how bad this was.
Bad. I mean,
Steelers still alive too, by the way.
Yeah, the Steelers still alive. The Steelers have scored 30 plus points in one game in each of the last 2 seasons. Both games at home versus Cincinnati. So pretty weird. Not that they're both at home, but that they've only scored 30 points in one game in the last 2 seasons. I mean, that's rough, man. That is rough.
I think the last time they scored was against the Bengals too.
Against the Bengals?
I think that was the last time they scored 30. So
no, that's what it was saying.
Piling on, dude.
Yeah, it's like Kyle Shanahan with Sean McVay, or how McVay just can't beat him.
Yeah.
Dude, I think for the Bengals, they're starting to circle the drain. I don't know if they're going to be able to make a playoff push. I think that they can. We react so heavy one way or another, especially with how important all these games are. But it is just one game, and I think Jake Browning has shown enough prior to this game where you can still feel optimistic. I think if I actually had to pick a playoff team from this matchup, it would be the Bengals over the Steelers. So I don't know if you agree with that or not, but
yeah, I mean, I'd agree. It just, Mason Rudolph again, he had a big game. Can he do it for 2 more weeks? You know, can he do it to get the Steelers possibly into the playoffs? I mean, that's yet to be determined. And obviously these next 2 weeks are going to be something that Mike Tomlin and Steelers fans across the nation are going to see if they get proved correctly or incorrectly. But I just, even though they lost and they lost badly to the Steelers, like you said, I would take the Bengals over the Steelers if we had not flip a coin, but decide like who's probably going to be the better team in the playoffs. I'm still going Bengals all day.
All right. Rick going Bengals, just like me. And we definitely agreed on this next game, but wow, man. I can confidently say that I have the proof that I took the Chargers plus 12.5 because I said, dude, that's a lot of points. I thought the Chargers looked good. The Bills get the win though. What do you think about this game? I mean, for the Chargers, there's nothing to learn. Their season's over. But for the Bills, they're trying to make a playoff push here, and it almost feels like they lost this one, but they didn't. And in the win column, it's really important. So we're going to talk about the Dolphins later. The Bills are going to have to play the Dolphins week 18, and that's going to kind of be that last final tough game for them. So this is potentially, one of the best AFC teams heating up at the right time. And with the way the AFC is, like, why not the Bills? And I'm really starting to believe that this. I mean, you got the Chiefs losing. I think this might be the year the Bills could win it all, and they just have to make sure that they win these games first. Got done.
Yeah, like you said it, man. This game is a win, and it's important for the playoffs. Like you said, this is a win, regardless of how close it was at the end, what the Bills didn't do, what the Bills did do. Like, it is a win. They are closer and closer to a playoff berth after I feel like a lot of teams were kind of like, okay, they're good, but they are not playoff good. That's just what it looks like, right? Like that we have plenty of games to go off of to say that pretty confidently, at least throughout the first part of the season. Now, Josh Allen was critical in this game. Last week, he had 9 attempts passing, I think only like 7 completions. James Cook was the star last week. This week, Josh Allen was the star. He rushed for 2 touchdowns, threw for 1. And he, let's see, where was it? He became the first player in NFL history with 4 consecutive seasons of 40 combined touchdowns and the second quarterback to reach 50 career rushing score. So he had a historic night on Saturday night for this Bills team. And it's nice to know that the Bills have a quarterback that can do that when push comes to shove i.e. playoffs, right? Playoffs are you're looking at the playoffs. You are in the playoffs right now, and you need to get these tough wins. And that's what the Bills did. They got the tough win. Like I said, Gabe Davis was also huge in this game, 140 receptions and that touchdown catch. But yeah, Buffalo looked bad, man. They were down 10-0 in the second quarter. They were able to get back, in the lead and eventually to a win. James Cook finished with 70 yards on 20 carries and became the first Bills running back to reach 1,000 yards since LaShawn McCoy in 2017, dude.
Wow.
What have we been saying about this Bills team needing a run game for so many years? This is their first 1,000-yard rusher since 2017, since LaShawn McCoy. So something is working for the Bills run game, and with Joe Brady there as their OC. As far as the Chargers, this is their first week without Brandon Staley. They fired him after the Vegas game, and they put in a really good effort. They put in that effort where we see it all the time. We saw it with AP earlier with the Raiders, right? Their first game under an interim head coach, they went out and won. But the Chargers in this case, just they didn't have enough to beat the Bills, although they were pretty goddamn close. But it's a nice spirited effort, and it goes to show that even though the locker room or that team right now is kind of in dysfunction with Staley, and I believe they fired their GM as well. They came together and almost beat a playoff worthy team. So they were close. Cameron Dicker had 5 field goals. Easton Stick made his second NFL start. And he was 23 of 33, rushed for a touchdown. They scored on 2 of their first drives. So he didn't look bad, man. Like they looked good, but they just could not come away with the win.
All right. That's weird. My headphone just went out. Okay, there we go.
Good.
Our next game, and Jinja. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Ginge.
I mean, you had the Atlanta Falcons going with Taylor Heineke, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they felt like they had no choice but to go back to Heineke after Riddler's been sucking. And Heineke had a pretty strong performance compared to the other 2 times he showed up previously this season. He was more confident and accurate in this game. There's a couple things that aren't going to show up in the box score, including like 2 dropped interceptions, which you don't love seeing that. But he had this Atlanta team looking like a real offense. I mean,
yeah,
we almost got 30 points out of Atlanta. Bijan had a lot of opportunities to score a touchdown. He didn't get one, but he was about to get one like 10 times, and somebody else would get in.
Yeah.
I think overall Atlanta proved how good they could be if they got mediocre quarterback play at the position. So much talent, and the Colts were honestly just out talented on Sunday by this Falcons team.
Yeah, man, you said it best. Heineke gave these Falcons a shot this week, and they came out, won. They scored a season high 29 points. That's a season high for the Atlanta Falcons. And when you really think about it, how we've been talking about the Falcons this entire season, we're like, people shouldn't be shocked. And yet I'm still shocked. I'm still very surprised that this is a season high points of 29. They went over 400 yards offensively. Tyler Algier had a 31-yard touchdown run. Heineke threw a touchdown, passing for 229 yards. Bijan Robinson had career high 7 catches for 50 yards, and Younghoe Koo kicked 5 field goals. And that was the offense. That's all the Falcons needed. And the Colts started off great. They led a long drive to open the game, touchdown run by Jonathan Taylor. But Gardner Minshew, his offensive line was absolute dog shit. 6 sacks of Gardner Minshew and an interception. His O-line did him no favors this game. How they scored the first one, I don't know. It was just plays that looked really good for that offensive drive to start off. And that's it, man. The offensive line allowed 15 pressures. They gave Gardner Minshew no time. And yes, it was also on Gardner Minshew, right? Like, it's not the O-line is bad, therefore the quarterback is bad. It's The offensive line was bad. You didn't give the quarterback enough time. Sure, okay, but Gardner Minshew needs to also try to make plays, realize that, flex in the second half, try to do something. And the Colts, like you said, they got out-talented, they got outplayed. The Falcons were just a better team, and they beat the Colts by 3 scores. The Colts were tied for first in the AFC South. They had won 5 of 6 to be tied. And I think they're still tied with the Jaguars, but it's looking like it's not looking good for the Colts right now in the AFC.
Yeah, and hopefully they can get it together because they're a fun team and they're a young team, and I still think no matter what happens, the Colts, they had a successful season. I mean, they lost their quarterback like week 3. And the fact that they're still playing competitive football all the way to the end of the season. I mean, how many times does a quarterback go down and you got a 1-2 win football team? I mean, it happens all the time. Yeah. So, I mean, the coaching and all that is going really, really well. So I think brighter days ahead if they don't make it, but we'll see if they can do a late surge here.
For sure.
This game is why the NFL is so hard to figure out. I think we both predicted this to be a close game. Am I right about that?
I really don't remember. I think we both definitely had the Packers winning, though.
Yeah, I think I was like, Carolina's going to give them a run for their money, but Packers sneak away with 3-point win. Like, right. I'm gonna go back and we're gonna make that listen to your friends episode. And man, I mean, the Packers survive. They had a pretty bad ending to this game. They definitely collapsed there at the end. It was the Aaron Jones show early. He had 90 scrimmage yards in the first quarter, and Aaron Jones, by the way, I picked him up off waivers on our fantasy football league. Bryce Young is showing improvements, and they definitely. I don't know what's going on with Frank Reich, or I never knew if that's how you pronounce it. Is that how you say it, Reich or Reich?
Yeah, Frank Reich. He was an old Panthers head coach. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what his deal is, dude, but everywhere he goes, he sucks. Like, I was watching the Pat McAfee Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, and Pat McAfee was like talking about or Aaron Rodgers was like, yeah, Frank Reich is such a great coach, and McAfee was like,
McAfee doesn't give a fuck. He's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, he's like, okay. And so is Nathaniel Hackett, right?
Sure.
But Bryce Young getting a little bit better. And I think for the Panthers, these are just moral victories at this point. And I do think they get a moral victory, even while they lost, just by the way this team fought. It's hard to get a team to buy in and to fight when they have 1 or 2 wins, and there's only 2 games left in the season. So the fact that they gave Green Bay a run for their money, they should feel good about. But Green Bay's defense continues to struggle, and I don't know if they're going to be able to get into the playoffs with games against the Bears and Vikings coming up.
Yeah, the Packers defense definitely gave a ton of conversation for families across the Wisconsin area and across the nation, really, during the holidays, because they're like, whoever their defensive coordinator is, fire that dude. The Panthers hadn't scored 20 plus since week 5, and the Packers allowed them to score 30. And they were averaging 6.3 yards per play. They got almost 400 yards of offense. Like, the Panthers have barely done that this season. And week 16 against the Packers, they were able to score 30 and get all that stuff. So this isn't a good look for a defense that, for a team, really, the Packers are still technically in the playoff hunt. So they could still mathematically get in. Certain things got to happen, right? But this just does not look good for a hopeful playoff team for their defense to be doing that. On the other side, though, their offense. Love, man. He was such a good he had just such a good game. 2 touchdowns, ran for 1, made 2 big completions to set up Carlson's 32-yard field goal with 19 seconds left to win the game. He had 21-yard touchdowns to Dontavian Wicks, 5 yards to Romeo Doubs, and then obviously he scored on a quarterback sneak. And, that's it. Their 2-game losing streak is over. Now, over these last 6 games, Love has averaged 263 yards, has 13 touchdowns, and only
Not
1
bad.
interception.
Not
One
bad
interception. Yeah, dude, like that is very good for this Packers team. So they're going to be very happy with Love going forward in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, but Packers fans across the nation absolutely will. So again, the offense for the Packers seems to be their strongest point, which is usually the way it goes. And there's sometimes when where their defense is like pretty damn good as well. It's just not it right now. In the offseason, they have to work on that a lot, especially in the draft.
Historically, I mean, you have your year, like in 2010 was the year that they had a good defense, and Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl that year.
Exactly.
I can think of all the other years. It's like the offense trying to compensate for a lack, like the Chiefs, And besides this year, everything's kind of weird now.
Yeah,
the Chiefs' offense sucks and their defense is good. We'll get there, but man, that's crazy. And I guess what Rick is really trying to say is if you're a Packer fan, it's safe to buy a Jordan Love jersey.
And that's me saying it. That's me saying that. I think Packers fans are good for that reason. Yeah, 100%.
And sorry, we both did it.
Okay.
Have a good defense suspending their star player.
Yeah. Jair Alexander, by the way, went out there for the coin toss, was not supposed to go out there, and was like, what are my options other than heads and tails? Something weird like that. And then they suspend their star player for 1 week. Like, Jair Alexander, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing?
Dude, he's definitely microdosing.
He's doing something.
I mean,
weird.
Is it really heads or tails, man?
Yeah.
Isn't there a third option?
Dude, what if it lands on the side though? What if it lands on the side? Then what?
This game was in Charlotte, North Carolina. No, weed's not legal there. He was on something. But
he had somebody come in and get him something.
And we got Massachusetts football guy just saying hi, guys. Pats fan who loves to talk football. Make yourself at home, brother. Welcome. Or sister, if you're not a brother, but
football
whatever
guy.
You are, we're happy to have you in here. Okay, Rick, I want to play a game. Okay, close your eyes.
Closed.
Okay. And here we go. Super Bowl 58 set. I'm not going to say who's going to receive. All right, coming out onto the field is this team. All right, let's see what they can do. Snap, shotgun, Flacco rolling out to his left. Joe Flacco going deep. Amari Cooper, touchdown, Browns. Maybe. I don't know. He definitely looks like a guy that's playing for $6 million or $3 million or whatever that little bonus is, the incentive. This Browns team is getting a Joe Flacco that is better than the Joe Flacco that we've seen the last couple of years. Okay. And I don't know if that's just because the defense is really great. I don't know if it's the money, the incentive. I don't know what is going on right now, but if Joe Flacco is going to be able to like actually be a downfield threat, like that 53-yard touchdown first play from scrimmage. Like I think they're getting enough from Jerome Ford running the football and Kareem Hunt. Amari Cooper to me is I think the best 2 route runners in the NFL. Amari Cooper is the best, and then Calvin Ridley is up there, and Jerry Jeudy's really good too. Alabama receivers are very, very good at route running. Like the ones that are great at it are very good at it. And Amari Cooper, dude, he is a coach. He's going to be a coach immediately when he's done I could see himself being an offensive coordinator even.
Oh, yeah.
Having Amari Cooper is like having a coach on the field, and they have the veteran, the veteran leadership of Joe Flacco, but don't forget Amari Cooper's out there too. I just think collectively there's a lot of experience and a lot of, maybe we can't beat you athletically like when we were in our 20s, but now we can beat you here. And the Texans then have, they're going with Case Keenum. This is actually a battle between two Bronco starting quarterbacks, Case Keenum versus Joe Flacco. And they both sucked for us, but Joe Flacco did, I guess, pretty well in this game. But am I crazy to think that the Browns not only will make the playoffs, but that the Browns are one of the most dangerous teams in the AFC?
Yeah, you're not wrong on either front.
I put them in my power rankings. Like I hit
like
this
week
shit.
10, week 10, week 9, something
like
like
week
that,
4.
Right?
Because I remember I said it, and it was way too early for that shit. And you were just like, "Fuck you."
It was, and honestly, like you said, I don't think you're wrong by saying this is a legit playoff team, and this is one of the scariest teams you're looking at in the AFC playoff, bracket. And I'm glad you brought up Amari Cooper. He set a franchise record with 265 yards, receiving yards in a game. And the guy who had it before him was Josh Gordon, 261. So he set the the franchise record with that. And he had 2 touchdowns. Amari Cooper this year has 72 catches, 1,250 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He's gotten 3, I believe, since Flacco's come in at quarterback. He's got more than half of his touchdowns on the season since Flacco's become quarterback. This is a great match right here between Flacco and Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is like one of these silent guys, almost like a Mike Evans type, where, there are a select few people who are like, no, dude, Mike Evans is elite. And then it's like the other 95% of like NFL fans are like, oh shit, Mike Evans, 10 years in a row, he's at 1,000 yards. What the fuck? You know what I mean? Like Amari Cooper is one of those guys where he's just silently building a Hall of Fame resume, in a sense, right? Like
absolutely.
He's probably needs a little bit more because Mike Evans has the Super Bowl, but he's up there, dude. He's up there.
I think he might get in right now. He might. I mean, people forget how good he was because he was drafted to the Raiders, so I knew him well, and I remember he got traded from the Raiders to the Cowboys, and I remember when the Cowboys got rid of him, I'm like, that's dumb, and then he went to Cleveland, and he's had 1,000-yard season every single year with the Browns, and he
adds to him.
Yeah, like he's not like, oh, he's like on his decline. I mean, he's not peaking, but he's still like somewhere, he's declined a little bit, but he's better than most people's wide receiver too. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and like you said, he's producing at a very steady clip. He is producing at a very steady clip. And with Joe Flacco, again, he's got more than half of his touchdowns with Joe Flacco at quarterback. Joe Flacco, another great game. He had 368 yards, 3 touchdowns. What worries me is the interceptions with Joe Flacco. That's the only thing. He had 2 in this game. He had 3 against the Bears. He's getting sacked a lot. When you told me to close my eyes in that scenario and you said rolling left, I was like, oh, Joe Flacco just fucking tore his Achilles. That's what I heard when you said rolling left. But again, Joe Flacco having a really good time. I mean, they built a halftime lead 22-7, cruised to a win against the Texans, and that's kind of it for the Texans at this point. Case Keenum is their quarterback. He only threw for 62 yards in this game with 2 interceptions in his second start. That's it, dude. Davis Mills replaced him late in the third quarter. And really the only good thing that I think the Texans had was a Dameon Pierce touchdown return on a kickoff. And then Davis Mills threw a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to Nico Collins. They did add a touchdown late in the game after a recovered onside kick, but CJ Stroud is the absolute pulse of this Texans team. And the coaching may be correct, but I think without the quarterback, And this Texans team might just not have it with just D'Amico Ryans. They need CJ Stroud there because he is the guy who is propelling them and is going to propel them to greatness again there in Houston.
Wow. Did you prepare that? Because that was amazing.
No big deal.
Yeah, just Rick flexing. He's too good for this channel. We're gonna lose him.
Dropping knowledge.
We're gonna
lose him. I'm over here putting my blood, sweat, and tears in this. Yeah, we're gonna lose that guy.
Well, is it Reich or Reich? I'm not gonna keep this guy around.
I'm gonna go with Reich.
The Detroit Lions get their second win in a row against the Vikings. This was a key divisional game right here. Detroit was able to clinch with the win. The defense has been really kind of shaky around mid-season, but in the Broncos game and now this game, the defense has kind of, I think, gotten some momentum back. And I thought Nick Mullins played a good game. I thought he looked about as good as I could have imagined him to be, and even a little bit better. He even had a miracle conversion in the final 90 seconds to keep the Vikings' hopes alive. But he had an off-target pass with under a minute, threw a pick, game over. But I thought the Vikings battled. But I think Detroit is just a better team. When I look at the NFC, I think of Detroit as one of the teams that could be in the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. I believe in this team. I think they're loaded. They got the best two-headed monster at running back. They got one of the best tight ends in the league. Sam Laporta is playing just as good as anyone. Maybe TJ Hawkinson a little better, but that's it. Everywhere you look, this team, I think if they're going to really start rolling right now, that everyone should be afraid of the Lions. And the Vikings did about as good as they could.
The NFC North division winning Lions.
Wow.
First division title in 30 years. 30 years. Cheers to that. Cheers to that, Lions fans.
Cheers to that.
Savor it.
Cheers to that. Congratulations, Detroit.
Congrats, Detroit. Yeah, you guys definitely deserve it. I think just as a fan base, as a city, as a team, you guys definitely deserve it. 30 years. Dan Campbell was on that 0-16 Lions team back in 2007, 2006, whatever it was.
Wow.
He was on that team. And now he is the head coach of the first time they win a division title in 30 years. Almost lost it. Let's not, sugarcoat it. They did almost lose it against Nick Mullins and the Vikings there at the end. What did happen was Ifeatu Melifonwu had the game-sealing interception at the 5-yard line with 49 seconds left to lead them to that division title. And it was against Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson was making all sorts of ridiculous catches for the Vikings. And Nick Mullins, like you said, had a really, really good game. But he was intercepted 4 times. And one of them was the game-sealing one. He had 2 touchdowns, 411 passing yards. But the interceptions are what's really killing Mullins and really this offense here for the Vikings. But what we've seen with Mullins at quarterback for the Vikings is an actual offense that, causes excitement. Not something that Dobbs wasn't able to do really, unless you're talking about his first game. A ton of mistakes. Yes, like I said, ton of interceptions for Mullins. But again, he's getting touchdowns. He's scoring 24 points against the Detroit Lions. They were able to get this offense going, and especially having Jefferson back, like that definitely helped. But also, you got to look at the subtractions in the offense. Addison, Hawkinson, they had Blackman and Wanham all left with injuries in this game to make it an even worse game for Nick Mullins and the Vikings. But you got to credit the Lions, man. Like I said, Jared Goff, no turnovers, 257 yards. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs combined for 3 touchdowns. Monroe St. Brown had 100 plus yards receiving in a score. And this defense worked its magic at the end. What I will say, you said this, you could see this Lions team kind of go to the Super Bowl. There's 2 just big glaring weaknesses, and it is the defense giving up a lot of points, a lot of yards to basically nobody. Nick Mullins, there's been quarterbacks in the past this season where you're just like, how you're scratching your head and you're like, how is the Detroit defense giving up this many yards and this many points to this guy or this team? You know what I mean? We talked about the Packers and the Panthers earlier. Like, how does that happen? And then, of course, the turnovers with Jared Goff, for about 3-4 straight games a couple weeks ago. Those are the two biggest glaring issues right now with the Lions in terms of getting to the Super Bowl, having success in the playoffs. Because I was listening to the Pat McAfee show too, and they were saying, they're like, hey, this is a great story and it's a feel good that you got the division, but it's not, this isn't good enough. You got to get a dub in the playoffs, man, to really seal that Detroit love for Dan Campbell and this team. I think it really does. The Lions really do need to get a dub in the playoffs to kind of seal that. You know what I mean? But that's just me.
I do. But I will say, like, you know how it is. I mean, it's like as soon as your team wins 10 games, it's like a playoff win. As soon as you win that playoff game, it's like this team was good enough to win the Super Bowl. Like we always, I think as our circumstances change, our expectations increase as well. So it's like,
yeah,
I think they have to at least win one playoff game. I would agree with you on that. Like, in order for this not to be a lost season. But I'm gonna say, because it's been 30 years since they've won a division, I'm gonna say winning the division this year is already a huge milestone. And Detroit fans, they definitely have a bigger prize in mind. But just from an outsider looking in, congratulations, Detroit. All right. Do you know who Legatron is?
Legatron?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I don't either. The New York Jets won 30-28 against the Commanders.
Fuck was that?
It's
Saquon? I don't like.
Legatron saves the day. I don't know, man. I don't
Breece
know
Hall?
what that means.
Breece Hall, maybe.
It's got to be, right? It's got to be.
Yeah.
Because Breece Hall definitely had a game, and the Jets got out to a 20-0 lead. I expected the Commanders to come back into this game, and they did. Sam Howell, they're saying that the Sam Howell era is over. And I don't know, man. I think Sam Howell did enough to impress me this year. And I know that, the benching and all that stuff is happening, but what do you think about Sam Howell era being over? Oh, and Jets owner confirmed that Saleh and Douglas will return next year. So
yeah,
no changes happening for the front office. We're going to run the whole Aaron Rodgers thing back, and hopefully he'll be able to stay healthy this time. But for the Commanders, it looks like there's a lot of change, and they've been linked to Russell Wilson stuff. We'll get to that. But it kind of ties in here, though. Like, what do you think Sam Howell, the era should be over? I thought he did as well as he could have. I think if any other quarterback was there, they would probably have similar success. They're scoring 30, 28, 25. Yeah. They're probably top 10 in points per game. I just don't know. Like, you want Sam Howell to, put the team on his back and do what CJ Stroud's doing for the Texans. Like, he might not be that, but I think the biggest problem is maybe they don't feel like they're seeing improvement from him from when he first started till now. I'm not in the building and all that, but from an outsider, I thought Sam Howell really made the most of his time in Washington if it is over.
Yeah, and I think really it's right now with what's going on with Howell is more of like what have you done for me lately, and also why have we benched you? And Jacoby Brissett has come into the game twice now and led the Commanders on a total over 2 games, like 5 or 6 touchdown drives. Like, he immediately replaced you, and we immediately got a total of 35 points in that time that you were not in it and Jacoby Brissett was in it. I think that's kind of what's going on in Washington. We have to look at what, like you said, what Sam Howell did earlier this season, and we have to look at the offensive line and what it was not doing this season. I mean, Sam Howell was running for his life, was getting sacked. He's probably one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league this year because of the offensive line that they put in front of him. So I just can't necessarily put all this on Sam Howell. The last 2 games have not looked good for him, though, at all, with Jacoby Brissett coming in and being able to go down the field and score a ton of points for the Commanders with the same offensive line, with the same weapons, with the same offensive scheme, all of that stuff. It doesn't look great, especially when he goes 6 of 22 for 56 yards and a 1.8 passer rating. You know what I mean? So it really is one of those, what have you done for me lately? In my opinion, I agree with you. Don't dump him. I don't think that should be the move the Commanders should make at all. I think they got a quarterback of the future in the making, really, with Sam Howell. And Jacoby Brissett was a real professional. He I think he said in the media at one point, he's like, I went up to Sam and was like, hey man, I've been exactly where you've been. And you do the work, and in 5-6 years from now, when you're still in the league, you're going to look back and be like, I'm glad I did the work. That was nothing, blah, blah, blah. So, Jacoby Brissett, big league type of guy, a locker room guy, and someone that, a veteran who has started games, been benched, come in for quarterbacks, been with the Patriots, been with Bill Belichick, been with all these coaches and teams. So he's been around the league. He knows a thing or two. And for Sam Howell, this is probably something that, 1, he's never experienced, obviously. 2, is just killing him on the inside, that he can't do what Jacoby Brissett has been doing when he's coming in for him. But it's nice to have a Jacoby Brissett type of guy in there to be like, hey, man, I know what you're doing. I know what you're feeling. I've been there, but look at me. Look where I am at now, right? Like, you're going to be in the league. You're going to be an effective quarterback. Don't let all this stuff kill you right now and affect you for the rest of your career. So I think that's fine. It's just, again, well, what have you done for me lately type of mentality right now in Washington. As far as the Jets, two big headlines. Obviously, the Sam Howell thing is the Sam Howell experiment over, and Salah and their GM are coming back next season. The other big headline, I think, is, like you said, Legatron. Breece Hall, 20 carries, 95 yards, 2 scores, 12 catches, 96 yards. He had more rushing yards in this game than the last 4 games combined. So, Breece Hall, an NFL player that you should probably give the ball to more if you're the Jets. And, that's why they drafted him. That's why he had a great rookie season before he got injured. So, hey, Jets, maybe give the ball more to Breece Hall. You're fucking stud of a guy, right?
You're hitting on him?
Yeah, kind of a little bit. I wouldn't mind, hanging out in his mansion.
Me too.
Greg, what I will say is, Jacoby Brissett came in and led 3 touchdown scores. The Jets almost gave up a 20-point lead. Well, they did give up the lead. They ended up with the win off Greg Zerlane's 54-yard field goal with 5 seconds left. But that's after giving up a 20-point lead. You know what I mean? Like, this Jets team, they won the game. It's in the win column, but they're absolute dog shit. This whole entire organization without Aaron Rodgers is it's looking rough. It's looking rough. They're bringing Salon, the GM, back, but I don't know. What Aaron Rodgers has to play hero next season.
Yeah, and I feel like it sucks because he's 1 year older, but it's worth having the conversation. Like, do you think because he didn't play football that he doesn't age really this year? Or should we look at it like, you know what I mean? Like, do we look at it like Aaron Rodgers is older, or do we skip this year because he didn't play football, so he didn't take a beating? But he did. He got injured.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Like, that is the big thing. That is the major thing. Like, yes, you can say, like, if he was, like, dealing with, I don't know, stingers, sprained ankles, shit like that throughout the season, then it'd be like, okay, I mean, yeah, maybe he didn't age a year, but an Achilles, that's huge.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he comes back strong. The Jets need him. Seattle came to Nashville. It was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
And they gave him a run for their money. The Titans battled. They battled. Just like the other games that we mentioned with the Panthers, only playing for pride at this point. Geno Smith gets the nod 1 week after Drew Lock throws a game-winning touchdown in the fourth quarter against the Eagles. Very emotional moment when Drew Lock looked up and let the rain fall on his face. and they said Gino's going to start.
Dude, great drive, great game winner.
Honestly,
Gino's got the dub.
Yeah, Gino's going to get the nod, but that was awesome.
But hey, good job, champ.
Good job. Yeah, you're a champion. But yeah, I mean, Seattle, I kind of was looking at them like maybe they're the team that's going to emerge after they beat the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
They still are playing for playoffs. If they win their final two, they'll make it. So I don't know, man. I mean, the fact that we're even having this conversation about like Gino or Drew Lock I don't take them serious, but I do think that they're good enough to get in the playoffs. And I think it's very, very similar to last year. I think they're good enough to get to the playoffs. I don't think they're good enough to win a playoff game unless they're matched up against Atlanta or somebody from the NFC South. Thanks for coming in. But
great.
I think that's the only division. I think the Lions would trample them. I think whoever the NFC East, Cowboys or Eagles. I mean, but maybe not the Eagles because you saw them just beat them there. Yeah. I think if Seattle's firing and the ball's bouncing their way, they could win a game. But I don't see this team making it to a Super Bowl. But right now they're just playing for that playoff position, which they did move into now that Pete Carroll's team's 8-7.
Yeah, man. I totally agree with you. I don't see this team going anywhere near sniffing a Super Bowl.
Oh, that's hot.
That's low-key hot. I just gotta take a second.
Oh, it stinks. Nice and
nice and good. But you know, they're in the playoffs right now, and you know, you have that sort of sustained success here in Seattle with the Seahawks and Pete Carroll, but they really do have a quarterback dilemma. You know, Geno Smith last year impressed. He got the 2-year deal or 1-year deal, whatever it was, and has not been the same guy, which I feel like a lot of us expected. Like, there's no way Geno keeps it up. He's definitely going to regress, right? Like, it's definitely going to be a regression. There's no way he could keep it up, and he has, and it's fine. But the Seahawks still find themselves winning games with Geno, with Drew Lock. They really just need to find their number one guy. They need to find their quarterback. They have a really solid defense and, more importantly, young guys on the defense that are making a big impression on the team already in their rookie season. Offensively, they still have plenty of weapons, but they really are just missing their quarterback. But you know what? They're still in the playoffs. And again, 2 weeks in a row, last minute touchdown pass to win the game. This time it was Geno Smith. Last week it was Drew Lock, and they're only the second team in NFL history to do so with 2 different quarterbacks on back-to-back weeks, get those game-winning drives. The defense, you know, I talked about had 6 sacks. 2 of them were in the final drive of the Titans. And, you know, it was Ryan Tannehill. He got the start. What's his name? Levis was hurt, was injured, and has been injured, I think, for the last couple of weeks or so. So it was going to be Tannehill. He started games. He knows what it means. And, you know, the Titans almost got there. They definitely had a shot there, but he hit his wide receiver near the sideline with about 3 seconds left, and you think they had enough time, but the official kept the time going. He moved back as he went out of bounds, and they ran out of time, couldn't call another play. And that's how that game went. Tannehill had 152 yards passing in his first start since October of this year. So decent for, you know, starting for the first time since, you know, the beginning of the season, but nowhere near anything that was going to win this game. Seahawks, like you said, if they can go up against the South, the NFC South, or just a lesser team, they might have a good shot at making it to the divisional round, but they might be enough for the second year in a row. They might be a first round exit.
Yeah. And it's still, I mean, you know how hard it is to get to the playoffs. Like, Pete Carroll still, I think, is doing a tremendous job with the Let's go. Pete Carroll's doing a tremendous job with drafting and the personnel. So I do think the contract they gave Geno, it's very interesting because if they do end up making it to the playoffs and losing, then the whole tactic that, hey, we'll get a team-friendly deal from Geno, and then we'll be able to bring in more talent around him to compensate for him not being Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get knocked down in the first round for the second year, do they reevaluate that plan and say, hey,
Exactly.
actually, we don't we want a higher ceiling, we're going to draft a quarterback? And if they do, watch out, man. That team is very, like, if they can get like a CJ Stroud player,
Mm-hmm.
they could be really, really, really good. They could win a Super Bowl again.
100%.
I mean, DK, he comes across as a guy that's going to get a ring at some point, to me.
He has to, man. If he doesn't get one, that would be.
He should be a Hall of Famer.
And it's happened before. You've got guys that have not won Super Bowls that were just so damn good in their careers, they just were not able to be on a team that can get there. But DK is definitely one of those guys deserving of one. He's had his outbursts this season where you're kind of like, DK, what the fuck are you doing, dude? But sometimes sometimes you just get frustrated with what's going on. And then he had that sign language, like standing on business and shit. That was fucking gangster as shit, by the way. That was gangster. I never said it after that game, but that was gangster as shit. So, but yeah, he deserves one. And then this question by Crafty. Kyle already said it. I think he thinks the Lions would beat the Seahawks. I think a little bit differently. I think it's more of a game. I do think with the Seahawks and their defense, if they can get turnovers, I talked about Jared Goff and what his turnover problems have been. They can get turnovers, which they are pretty good at doing, the Seahawks defense. I think it might be more of a game.
Yeah, and I think Seattle beat Detroit in the last 2 years twice. I believe they played early in the season. I think they played week 3 this year. And then
yes,
somewhere they did around
play
there.
Wait, did they? No, that was last year. They played the NFC.
Last year they played week 3 as well. It was like, let me see, Lions Seahawks 2023.
Pretty sure, because that was actually a very good game. Or did the Lions just absolutely like destroy them?
So September 17, 2023. So week 2.
Oh, week 2. Okay.
In Seattle won 37-31 final overtime.
Yeah.
And then last year, so they played week 2 this year. In 2022, they played October 2nd. So week 4 or week 5. And Seahawks won 48-45 in overtime.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, the Seahawks have their number. Yeah.
NFC South or the Lions. Yeah, it could be a game. Could be a game for sure.
And this little tidbit right here, and then we'll move on. Geno Smith now has 4 game-winning drives in 2023, tied for the most in the NFL entering late games. Smith has 7 game-winning drives since 2022. He had 7 game-winning drives in all his career prior to 2023. So this is a Geno Smith that when he comes into the game and you need, a go-ahead field goal or a touchdown, you feel confident in. And
I like it.
As long as you have that, I mean, that's really when people move off quarterbacks. When the game's on the line and you don't trust your guy to get the job done, you're like, let's get someone else. But if Geno can keep providing that security, he might be able to hang on to this job. The Denver Broncos fall short, nearly out of the playoff hunt. Everything's falling apart. I don't know. I don't know what really to make of all this. All I can say is that it's been a roller coaster. And now that there's new information, I'm looking back at previous events and I'm thinking, is something wrong with Sean Payton or something wrong with Russell Wilson? And I think if you have two Hall of Fame coaches that move off of a quarterback, it's probably the quarterback. Pete Carroll and Sean Payton both moved off, and we saw Nathaniel Hackett have no success with him. So I really do believe that this whole situation is not clear. So I've heard it said like people are picking teams for Russell Wilson to go to next year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they asked why he was benched, and it's because if he gets hurt in the final 2 games, then he would be owed $33 million. So Denver is like, yeah, let's not play him because we're out of the playoff picture. And if he gets hurt, we have to pay $33 million that we don't have because Russ refused to restructure. So they're making it seem that he's being benched because of, finances. And it's like, is it because of finances? Or is Sean Payton trying to get a look at Stidham and see what they have with him? I mean, and if he does well, does that mean that he would be the quarterback next year? I mean, and how well does he have to do for that to happen? And then what do we do with Russ exactly? Or is Russ going to be our starter next year? And this is just business because they don't want to pay that money. I mean, it's really hard to try to break it down, but the players were all sad. It was like somebody died today in the locker room. It was silent. Like, the vibes are really down. A lot of people that cover the Broncos said that in their 10, 7, 12 years of doing this, that they never seen the locker room that low as it was after the Patriots game. And it sucks, man. It sucks. We controlled our own destiny. Everything that we needed to happen happened. The Steelers beat the Bengals. The Chiefs are losing. If Denver would have just won their last 2 games, like they would be the division leader right now. And it sucks, man. It sucks coming so close. And then not only do you get so close, but you don't get in. You get so close, and now it's like, wait, are we rebuilding? Or you know what I mean? Like normally when you're playing for the playoffs, like Detroit was last year and didn't make it, it was like, okay, well, at least we know next year they're going to be a force to reckon with. Denver's like almost going to make it, and then we're going to factory reset. I just don't understand what's going on. And it's a very confusing situation because of this contract, the money, Sean Payton, his relationship with Russ. It's a lot to figure out. And people are saying, is their relationship fixable? Is it broken? Like, I mean, if it isn't broken, then we don't need to talk about fixing it. I don't understand if there's something I'm missing about the relationship, but to me, everything seemed fine. I was shocked to hear that Russell Wilson was being benched. It was truly like shock and awe. I could not believe it. So, I mean, we could talk about this game briefly, but I'm more interested in what you think, this move that Sean Payton made this morning, what it means for Denver moving forward.
I was not expecting this at all. I saw that and really what happened even before the Russ news, Kareem Jackson is no longer on the team. He got picked up by somebody else. I didn't even realize that was a thing right now. So I was like, Kareem Jackson got picked up by, I don't know, the Chargers or something like that because he was suspended indefinitely. The team, parted ways with him. I was like, what the fuck? And then
we didn't
Russ
even
news,
mean to. Because we had to put him on the practice squad because of 52.
The suspension.
He had to clear waivers for us to put him back on the active roster. But a team, he got claimed. So,
and again,
insane.
it was like today, the 27th of December. I was like, what is happening in Denver right now? You got Kareem Jackson. Obviously, that thing, it happened, right? But Russ being benched, even though he's got 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, he's having a much better year than last year. But it just does seem to be that Sean Payton is looking for his own quarterback. He does not want Russ. Russ is 35 years old. He got paid 250 million, at the start of last season. His contract is only guaranteed through next season. So while I do think that this benching can also, I feel like two things can be true here. This benching for Jarrett Stidham is Sean Payton saying we need a fucking little spark on offense. But I think with ownership, and even though they're Walmart and they've got a stupid amount of money, they got billions of dollars. They're trying to save some money, man. Millionaires and billionaires don't become that way because they spend money like nothing. They're trying to save some money. Everything after, I believe, the 2024 salary, if they make the right moves at the right time, they will save not a ton of money in the short term, but overall from 2025 to 2028, they will save that money. I think if they cut him in like June, or if they trade him, something like that, they can save 17 of that 33 million, like half of that. There's like so many things that I don't understand about the cap. Like the cap just does not seem real to me, and it does not seem like a thing that you can actually quantify or read up the rules on, regardless of that fact. I'm stupid on that. There's reports saying that Russ already knew that he was being done in Denver since October.
Since after the Chiefs game.
Since after the Chiefs game, in October, whenever that was. There's that report, and I'm like, how do you go out there knowing that, first of all, and being expected to try to win games? You go on that 6-7 game stretch where you're looking good, and it's like, to me, I'm like, were they just out to get him from the start after saying that? Were they just like, hey, you're done here in Denver, you're going to get the money you're going to get, and it is what it is at this point, but hey, you're still the starter, you're still going out to win games, you're still doing this, you're still doing that. I don't know. Did they sabotage it? Is Sean Payton that fucking crazy in the head where he's like, I'm going to go out there and we're going to get a plan going, but it's not going to look good? And somehow Russ is ruining this by looking good and getting us to the playoffs and just cementing the fact that he should continue to be the quarterback in Denver. I don't know what's going on, but apparently reports are saying Russ is done in Denver, similar to Carr last year with the Raiders when they benched him for Aiden O'Connell or whoever the fuck it was. It just seems to be that way. Yeah, man. It just seems to be that way. And I'm sorry, it sucks. But yeah. Yeah. And look, that's what Bill said. It led to who? Stidham. Both times, years in a row.
Yeah, and Crafty, this comment, Crafty, this is a really good point. I think Sean Payton's impressed management enough with the turnaround that they're going to roll with his vision. Now, I think also if Sean's watching film and he's drawing up plays and you go to the film and you see, oh, look at the play I drew up. Look at the wide receiver that I drew open. Look how I've, expanded the field in this way. And then you see Russ not make the throw. It's like at some point you're going to be like, maybe I need to move off the quarterback because the plays are there, but he's not making them.
Yeah.
And only Sean really knows that. But I've definitely seen a lot of footage of Jerry Jeudy wide open this year on Twitter. And just, it might just be that Sean at the end of the day is like, I understand the money, but like we said earlier, money, draft capital, you're not safe.
Huge.
It doesn't matter where you were drafted or who you are.
What your contract is.
Yeah, what your contract is. Like, you either play good enough to start on this team or you don't. And that's why Randy Gregory's in San Francisco and Nick Benito is starting. And sometimes we say things like that, but like certain players are off limits. But in this case, it is truly nothing off limits for Sean Payton and what he is going to build. And he has general manager power. He can do whatever he wants with this team. And I just hope that whatever journey we're going on, it's gonna be the right call to move off Russ.
Yeah, and also just real quick before we move on, I think Jerry Judy's also done. I think you got to move off of him, man. How I don't understand how Cortland Sutton has been amazing this year, but Jerry Judy, Cortland Sutton goes out of the game, and it's like, all right, Jerry Judy, show us what you got. He got nothing. He's got nothing. They had a worse offense last year, and he did better in that offense than this offense.
I thought he was hurt. I was Googling, is Jerry Judy hurt? Where's Jerry Judy?
Exactly. And it's like, Cortland Sutton's out, man. Your number one guy is out. Jerry Judy, you're going to step up, right? You're that guy. You're not some jag like fucking Smith Sr. said. And I think Jerry Judy is a jag, man. I really do think so. I just, what is this? His third year now? Or second year, whatever it was, like he's just not stepping up. I think you got to move away from Jerry Judy too, or fourth. You got to move away from Jerry Judy at this point, I think.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna get a good idea of how Sean feels about all of these players. It's one thing when you just become the head coach and you inherit a team, but after that first year and film and coaching, and we're gonna find out real quick who Sean likes and who he doesn't like.
And Sean knows ownership has cash coming out of their ass, dude. He knows that. Yeah, they wipe their ass with $20, $100 bills, dude. He knows. He says a name, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, let's do it." You know what I mean? Like that's what it is.
When $74 billion walks in the door, you can tell.
Oh, yeah, you got 5-6 people walking in being like, who's this guy? DK Metcalf? Yeah, just throw the fucking checkbook at him. Give him a blank check. Something like that. Some guy.
We got Rice. I mean, it's a powerful ownership group. A lot of power.
You guys are, I think, with Sean Payton in that ownership group, even if you get rid of Russ, you take the hit, you get rid of Judy, which Bill just said he would be $13 million in dead cap. You keep Cortland Sutton, you keep the guys on defense, and you go out and get another premier wide receiver. Again, I think you guys are in a good spot for the future. It just depends who the quarterback is, if you draft somebody or if you get somebody out there. But I think you guys are going to be fine for like the future.
Well, let's hope so, because I can't handle much more of this shit. I am so sick and tired of being tired.
And the Patriots won, so good for them. And you have this stat up: Bailey Zappi joined Brady and Bledsoe, only Patriots QB since 1970 to win a primetime game with 250 plus pass yards, 2+ passing touchdowns, and no interceptions. Is Zappi the guy?
Long-term answer, yep. Yeah, Zappy. I mean, that
rough one.
Stat is hilarious because we're finding ways to group Tom Brady and Zappy, which is hysterical.
Kyle Esperna 2.0. I love it.
All right. Well, there's one thing I like even more than that.
Yeah. Wow. This game.
Chiefs tears.
Wait, we didn't go over the other 3 games. It's late slate and Sunday.
All right.
Let's go over Monday Night Football. Fuck it. Let's go over Monday Night Football because I want you to get yours for the Chiefs. Let's go. Run it.
The Chiefs offense has not found their answer. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned this in our prediction episode. I said the time of believing that the Chiefs are just going to have a game where it clicks, it's over. They're not going to. This is who they are. And it's a very beatable team. And that's why they got beat. And they looked just like, they remind me of a team I watched a lot last year that was like trying to, get everything back in one play. It's like you just need like a miraculous pill, especially when everyone's like, Mahomes does all this crazy stuff. And, when it's working, it's awesome. But when it's not working, it's like Mahomes. I feel like when I'm watching it, there's just so much tension in the Chiefs trying to, just keep their nose above water and try to sway the bar in such a dramatic way because of the lackluster offense this whole season.
Yeah.
And I really think they just need to take a deep breath and freaking relax a little bit. But they hate losing. Clearly, they're probably hating it more than a lot of people because they're not used to it. The Raiders, I think, need to hire Antonio Pierce to be the long-term head coach for the Raiders. I hope they don't, but they need to. And I think the Chiefs are not going to win the Super Bowl this year. And I didn't say that up to this point because you just can't rule out Patrick Mahomes. I'm here to say I'm ruling out Patrick Mahomes 2023.
Wow. You heard it here first on the Only Football Podcast. Kyle, no Patrick Mahomes or Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. I love it. And we talk about what the last few years, 4 or 5 years since Patrick Mahomes has been the quarterback. Every year it gets to a point where we're like, man, the Chiefs don't look good. And what do? They get the number 1 seed in the AFC. They go to the Super Bowl. They go to the AFC Championship, whatever the case may be, right? They get there every single time. This year, it really does look like, are they going to get there, right? Because people are talking about that. Is the dynasty over? Is Andy Reid not that, good anymore? Is Travis Kelce having like his worst year? And is he on the, circling the drain, as you said, right? Is Patrick Mahomes is still going to be good, I think. But he's just getting frustrated with what's going on with these receivers and really the offense in general, like you mentioned. And oh God, this is becoming like, do you remember when, who was it? Kim Kardashian started dating a ton of these basketball players and they all started just sucking it up, or like the Kardashian family in general would date a basketball player or date a rapper or date this person, date that
like
person.
Jessica Simpson and Tony Romo.
Exactly. Taylor Swift is doing that, dude. She's taking the soul out of the Chiefs. And I say this as a joke, right? Because there's plenty of people on Twitter,
he means
Chiefs
it.
fans.
He told me offline.
Totally fucking mean it. That was our pre-production meeting, Kyle.
Sorry.
But I see a lot of people on Twitter, giving shit to Taylor Swift. And look, could it be some sort of curse? Maybe, right? Like this would be funny to see. Like, is this a Taylor Swift curse? Maybe, right? Like it's funny to think about and it's entertaining to think about too. But no, it's not. It's just it just again a lack of really a wide receiver leadership in the locker room for the Chiefs. Travis Kelce and Patrick and not really Patrick Mahomes, but Travis Kelce, he's getting older, man. He's in his 30s. He's not 27, 28 years old where you're like, he's got a few more good years left. Like he's at his like pinnacle right now. And he's still producing, but it's just something about this offense. Something is just not working, where in a year where the defense for the Chiefs is fucking good. It's that fucking good where we thought in the middle of the season, Kyle, and we agreed on this. This defense might take them far. And that still may be the case, but the offense really needs to put up its end of the bargain. This game, dude, for 3.5 quarters, the Chiefs had 7 points. When do you ever hear a sentence like that since Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid have been in Kansas City?
Never.
You've never heard that until this past Sunday or Monday. It's insane to say and it's insane to think about, and it was even crazier to watch.
They had one game where they only got 3 points, I think.
Was it?
It was, yeah. It was, I think it was 2 years ago. I think it was against the Titans or something.
And it's still so crazy to think about, too. Like, that was probably the last time that something like that happened. This is probably the second time in the history of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce that this happens. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying that because the Chiefs, Again, since that regime are just amazing.
Kansas City put up their fewest points in a game with Patrick Mahomes against the Titans on October 24th with 3 points. Dude, I fucking crushed that.
It's crazy. That's because you love Chiefs losses, just like I love Packers losses.
I don't forget. People don't forget.
Never forget. People didn't forget. The Raiders, though, like you said, man, a ridiculously stupid win. As far as wins go, this was one of the dumbest wins, I think, in the history of the NFL. Aiden O'Connell completed 9 passes, Kyle. How many of those did he complete after the first quarter?
0.
Fucking 0. How do you win a game when your quarterback doesn't complete a pass after the first quarter? How do you do that? I'll tell you how. Their fucking defense pick 6 and fumble 6. They only had 1 offensive touchdown, I think, the entire game. Something like that. I don't know. Regardless. Or maybe not, actually. I think they had those 2 touchdowns and then the 2 field goals. One of the dumbest wins I've ever seen in the fucking NFL. But the Raiders and Antonio Pierce, dude, they deserved it at the end of the day. They fumble 6 and they pick 6 the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes. That's who they did it to.
I hope you started the Raiders defense against the Chiefs. If you didn't, you're an idiot.
Yeah, you're fucking stupid. And that was fantasy advice from the Only Football Podcast.
Draft Devin White. What?
He went off in this game, by the way. Yeah, he went off. But yeah, man, one of the dumbest wins I've ever seen. And it was similar to that Josh Allen one last week where Josh Allen was like, yeah, I felt like I was in the group project, didn't do anything, but still got an A. That's what Aiden O'Connell felt like. He's like, I was fucking present for sure. I was at the game. You know what I mean? Good for the Raiders. Good for AP. They played a hell of a game on defense.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. I think.
Hold on.
Can't agree more.
Can't agree more. All right. We had the Battle of Florida, not Miami, but the Battle of Florida without Miami. Yep. And Rick, it's time to accept it. Baker Mayfield's balling. He is balling his ass off. He completed 26 of 35 for 283 yards, 2 dimes to Mike Evans for touchdowns. But it's not just that he had a good game. It's that he's consistently been good all year, and it's his first year in the system. Now, remember, Tom Brady, his first year with the Bucs, was like, I think 10-5, week 15, 9-4, 9-5. Like, it was, they had a late season surge. That was during the COVID year. And I'm just curious, like, I'm going to let you talk a little bit, but I'm going to be checking how many yards Tom Brady had with the Bucs. Because I wonder how Baker's stats hold up to those, because sometimes we have these mental blocks. Like we put people in a box, we make up our mind about who people are. Okay, Peyton Manning's this guy, Aaron Rodgers this guy. Okay, that's the Baker Mayfields and Jacoby Brissett's and those guys. And we come up with these categories, but once in a while we're wrong. Or the data has changed. And I think this is a case where we have enough of a sample size to reevaluate who Baker is and what he's capable of. And I do think that he's capable of being a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Wow.
Yeah, I know that might be like a really, really bold statement, but he's a winner. And even when he doesn't win, he fights. And he's a competitor. He's willing to run. He's willing to lower his shoulder. He's willing to block. And I think he's kind of growing mentally, the mental side of the game. There's probably a lot more partying when he was younger, and he's getting to that age where you kind of settle in a little bit. And I think this is the best version of Baker that we've seen since Cleveland. And it's pretty exciting, and it makes you wonder what is Tampa Bay's long-term plans at quarterback, and if Baker Mayfield is the answer to that.
Yeah. And you this comment by Bill, he's got Evans to throw to. Don't discount Evans. Evans became the 5th wide receiver, I believe, and the 10th. Hold on,
1,000.
Yeah, 5th player in NFL history to have at least 12 touchdown receptions in a season, 5 or more times. He joins Jerry Rice, T.O., Marvin Harrison, and Randy Moss in that list. He had his 12th and 13th touchdown in that game. Baker Mayfield, like you said, has been amazing. I'll always have a soft spot for Baker. And there's 2 reasons why. The first reason was coming out of Oklahoma when Cleveland drafted him. In my mind, and I may have said this on the podcast, when we started last season, I honestly can't remember, but in my mind, I thought this is the answer to Cleveland's quarterbacks problem. And for a time, he got into the playoffs. It wasn't a great playoff game. They beat the Steelers, but everything after that and just all the controversy going on, Deshaun Watson came in the picture. It just seemed to me like Baker Mayfield was the answer for all the problems, all the names of quarterbacks that the Cleveland Browns have been through, drafted. I thought he was going to be the guy in Cleveland. And again, like I said, he was for a time there. So in my mind, I was always like, I believe in Baker. And there's some games this season where I've been like, Baker sucks, dude. And hand up. Yep. 100% did say that. The other reason why I always have a soft spot for Baker is for those of you tuning in that have come from the Tom Grossi Packcast stream last year. Kyle was streaming that LA Rams game in which Baker was the starter a day and a half after they picked him up. And he led the game-winning drive with a touchdown pass to Van Jefferson. We went from 11 subscribers on this channel to over 45, almost 50, because Kyle was streaming that game and Grossi rated us. And I believe a couple of you, Bill, maybe Jinja, a couple other people were the OGs that came from that Grossi posse raid. So that's why I'll have a soft spot for Baker Mayfield because of those 2 reasons. But again, Mike Evans, dude, he is amazing this season. We talked about him earlier, 10 seasons in a row with 1,000+ yards receiving. Mayfield in the last 2 weeks, 664 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, 141.2 passer rating. And Tampa Bay has won 4 straight games to put themselves in the division lead, if not tied for it. And I have to look at the standings here to be 100% sure. They're currently in the lead above the Falcons with an 8-7 record. They can go 10-7 if that may be the case. 4 games in a row they've won. Baker Mayfield playing the way they have, Mike Evans playing the way he has. This is very, very doable for this Tampa Bay Bucs team. They got Rashad White rushing for scores, getting rush yards, and he's been pretty damn good all season. The defense for the Bucs turned 3 turnovers into 3 touchdowns in this game. That defense is playing really well right now as of late, and if they keep continuing doing that, we talked about the Seahawks. If they get an NFC South team, it might be a Seahawks win. If it's the Bucs, man, it might be a tougher game than we expect. But yeah, man, Evans and Baker Mayfield have been playing lights out. The defense has been doing its part, and the Bucs look very, very good. The Jaguars, they're literally the other side of the coin. Trevor Lawrence, when he sprained his ankle in that game against the Bengals, right? It was the Bengals, has not looked like the Trevor Lawrence he has looked like before that game this season. There's something wrong with him. He's hurt. He's trying to play through it. I don't know what the answer is going to be there. And luckily the Colts also lost this week, so they're still tied there for the division. But the Jaguars need to get that separation in the division to win, because in a tough AFC conference, I don't know if they're going to get a wild card, man. It's looking rough to get a wild card right now in the AFC. Who was it? Lawrence did get a second half touchdown pass to Calvin Ridley, but he was benched in the 4th quarter. And then I believe he was replaced by who was he replaced by? Beathard. He was replaced by Beathard. Since his ankle sprain, Lawrence has completed only 57% of his passes, 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 3 fumbles lost. I talked about his turnovers and what's been going on with him with those turnovers, and that's just becoming even worse with his injury since that game. So the Jaguars are literally the other side of the coin, like the of the Bucks. So they're looking rough.
Yeah, it's crazy to see them collapse the way that they are, and
really is. Yeah,
though you said it perfect. Like there's something wrong with Lawrence. Like it's so funny to say that about another human. Something wrong with him. I don't know what it is, but he's broken.
What's wrong with Trevor, bro? He seems weird.
I think he needs new batteries. You know who doesn't need new batteries? The Chicago Bears, who are somehow not running off fumes while they're not playing for the playoffs. The Chicago's playoff hopes are all over, but you wouldn't have known it by the way they played Sunday. They scored 3 straight touchdowns in the first half and forced 3 straight punts on defense. Against the Cardinals, they went up 21-0 in less than 22 minutes into the game. The Bears are playing in a way where if they could have somehow started the season with Montez Sweat, who knows? Yeah. I think the Bears are. I mean, go ahead, Rick, because we go back and forth about tear it down, build it up, fire poles, keep poles. This guy's got to go. Eberflus is the problem. Fields is he the answer? Now you got this team winning football games, and it's like, be careful what you tear down. And this is exactly what I was saying about the whole Russell Wilson thing is I understand tearing something down, but if you're in a better place as a franchise than you have been in some time, and you're winning football games, just be careful what you tear down. And would you say that the Bears winning out, finishing the season 8-9, in any way changes your long-term plans or opinions on what you would want to see the Bears do?
The coaching staff needs to go. That has been pretty solid for me for a few weeks now, and really like pretty early in the season, mid-season, I would say I've been like Eberflus and Getsy. All right, guys, see ya. Right. There's been times where this game plan looks solid. The Bears in this one, 3 straight touchdowns, 21-0. They go into halftime leading. But what was the final score? Oh, 27-6. You mean they only scored 6 points in the second fucking half after a great offensive output? And look, part of that was Cole Kmet got injured. Yeah, it's hard. It's so funny to me. Like, I listen to a Chicago sports podcast, and sometimes like they don't even like. They're just like, yeah, the Bears won, and yeah, they won, but everything still seems to be in shambles, like in terms of coaching, because that's kind of like what I agree on too, man. It's like, how are you only going to score 6 points in the second half after a large output of 3 touchdowns in the first half? And again, DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, injuries. DJ Moore sprained his ankle, was questionable to return after his first catch. Huge part of the offense, right? Don't get me wrong. Cole Kmet easily becoming a top 10 tight end, I think, in the league with what he's done this season.
Top 3.
Okay. I mean, I'll fucking take it for sure.
He's the best in the world.
I'll settle down.
Okay.
But, they both got injured. Cole Kmet did not return after halftime. The offensive play calling, though, has just been dog shit. With Getsy. It's just has not changed. The defense, like you said, had the Bears had Montez Sweat, had the Bears had some sort of force there on the defensive line to get to quarterbacks earlier in the season, this team could have an extra 2-3 wins. I look at the Lions game, I look at the Vikings game, and Kyle, I look at the Broncos game. Those are 3 wins they should have. They'd be 9-5 right now.
Whoa, calm down.
They'd be 9-5 right now. Or sorry, 9-6 technically.
Why should they have beaten the Broncos?
Because they I think they were leading by 2 scores in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. They were leading by 3.
They were leading by 3. So I look at
21-3 at one point.
Exactly, dude. And I just look at those games and I'm like,
I hear you, dude. I feel that too.
And again, that I almost feel like that Broncos game, even the Chiefs game, those were games that I looked at and I was like, what the fuck is Getsy doing? Why is he doing this? Like what happened to Getsy from last year at the end of, latter half of the season last year? He is just not who we expected he was going to be. And that's fine. Coaches don't work out. It is what it is. It is how the NFL is going to work. But get rid of him. Get rid of Eberflus. Unless Eberflus wants to take a defensive coordinator position for the next head coach, get rid of him. Justin Fields. God, I am so fucking up and down with Justin Fields. Sometimes he doesn't make throws with wide open Moonies or other receivers. Sometimes he makes these ridiculous 60-yard touchdown passes, and then sometimes he runs and has great running games. And other times he looks like he's never ran for, a first down in his life. I am so hot and cold on him. I just don't know what they're going to do.
We'll take him.
I know you will.
We'll take him off your hands. Don't even stress about it, dude.
And I know Sean Payton will.
We'll come pick him up.
No. Yeah, it's just they have the number 1 pick next draft. They've got Justin Fields. They've got DJ Moore. They've got Cole Kmet. If you add a Marvin Harrison Jr. in the draft, or maybe another offensive lineman, which is what they really should do, or even another defensive lineman, which is, again, what they should do, build those trenches up, and you get a skill player later on in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. It just, again, my hopes are going to be high as fuck, higher than they were at the beginning of this season. Poles, keep him as GM. Fields, let's give him his 4th year as a quarterback. Fuck it. That is my final say. Keep Justin Fields for next year. Dang. Build the trenches, get another skill player in the early rounds, but get rid of the coaching staff. The coaching staff is absolute dog shit. And again, for this game in particular, that first half was awesome. Cole Kmet had over 100 yards receiving in that first half. He was hurt. That was his career high as a Bear, is over 100 yards receiving, and he got it in one half in week 16 against the Cardinals. The defense was getting to Kyler Murray. They were pressuring him. They let up a couple scores, which is what it is. They're going to score, right? But the defense did its job. The defense has steadily improved since week 1, and these last few weeks has been very good. They were steadily improving, and then bam, shot up these last few weeks. They're going to end off the year really well. TJ Edwards and Edmonds, the linebackers, very solid additions. Montez Sweat, obviously the prize piece in that defense. The Bears are in good hands on that defensive side with those guys there. The defense is going to be a force to reckon with next season. The offense, again, in the trenches is where you got to build, and you got to get a new coaching staff. Ryan Poles, GM, he's fine. The Cardinals, by the way, Kyler Murray, slippery motherfucker. He's able to get away. He's able to make plays. The Cardinals played really well. It was just, they were just completely surrounded by that defense of the Bears. Kyler Murray did not seem like he had a lot of time to throw. He was scrambling out of the pocket. So it was tough for them. And I did have a Cardinals fan during the stream of that. He was not happy. But he did subscribe, so that's awesome. Defense won that game.
Yeah. We'll shift to Kyler Murray because Monty Ossenfort is going to have a big decision to make after this season. And they could move off Kyler Murray with a post-June 1st trade, opening up future cap space. Arizona, they're gonna have a top 5 pick. So they would be able to draft a brand new person potentially and move Kyler Murray. Or are they going to try to build around Murray and believe that he's the long-term answer? And this might be what I think is a sneaky headline. There's no guarantee that Kyler Murray is going to be a Cardinal. And with his current contract, I think it's very much kind of like Russ. Who's going to want to pick up that contract? Because it's been a while since Kyler Murray has really proven anything.
It's been a while.
It's been a while since Kyler Murray can hold his head up high. It's been a while since Justin Fields scored. Everything I can remember. The Patriots beating us. Did you notice on the Patriots game I put final triple overtime?
I did. I saw that. I was like, I don't know about that one, Jim.
But yeah, that is something I'm going to be tracking. I think we're going to get a lot of new quarterback homes this offseason. It's going to be intriguing.
I agree. One last thing.
Yeah.
For this, it's just a note. I noticed they had a camera angle that was directly behind Kyler Murray, and it was almost like at neck level, eye level. That was the camera angle, and I was looking at it, and I was like, "How the fuck does Kyler Murray complete passes behind his linemen who are well taller than him? Like, how does he complete that? Like, he must read the playbook. Be like, the guy's gonna be here. I'm gonna make the throw. Like, that's just impressive to me.
He thinks he's playing Madden, dude.
It's ridiculous. I was like, wow, Kyler Murray really is a short dude. So that was my last little note on that game.
Yeah, and it sucks because you're like, why is he able to make those throws?
Exactly.
Why can't my short quarterback make those throws?
100% Bill. Yep.
All right. So we talked about how the Miami Dolphins are the Cowboys of the AFC. The Cowboys' greatest win was the Broncos or Jared Stidham in the Raiders. I went through every game.
Yeah.
And both of those are not very good. So this game was a big monkey off Miami's back. And they punched their playoff ticket with the win. I thought this was a really good game. I watched this one. Miami was able to kick that last second field goal that put them on top. But the Cowboys, coming off of not a good performance, back-to-back losses, so they dropped to the Bills, and now they end up losing here. This was a really important game, and it felt like one that both teams really needed to have. For the Cowboys, they're going to continue to hear talks about being a fraud, and somewhat rightfully so, right? The way that they've struggled on the road and through playing difficult teams. The Dolphins, they racked up 375 yards. They had 22 first downs. And there was an opening drive which ended in a goal line fumble, which became the difference in this game. That's kind of, to me, like, did the Cowboys lose or did the Dolphins win? You know, that whole thing. I thought both of these teams played pretty well. I don't think that there was one team that just like stunk it up. I thought both these teams came to play. And there's been a lot of games this year that we were like, Cowboys, Dolphins, that's my game of the week. And then it's a blowout.
Yeah.
And we're like, how did that happen? This one stayed pretty true to being balanced. And for Miami, now they're 11-4. They've clinched a playoff spot for the second straight year. Great coach and Mike McDaniel. The Dolphins, they beat a good opponent for the first time this season, thanks to the defense largely. Dallas only had 20 points. Next week, Miami could potentially move to the AFC's top seed if they're able to beat the Ravens, who are coming off an amazing win against the 49ers. But we can stop calling the Dolphins frauds. And for the Cowboys, it's like we're going to say that they're frauds, but somebody had to lose this game, and we were going to say that about the loser regardless. I don't think any one of these two teams is a fraud. I think that these are two good football teams, and the Cowboys were a little worse than the Dolphins, and the Dolphins were at home. So I thought the Dolphins were going to maybe sneak out, a 3-point win or something like that. They get it by 2. But the Dolphins are definitely, they've cemented the seriousness. Like, the fan base is thinking Super Bowl, not playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. And the Dolphins got the monkey off their back for beating a team over 500. Dallas Cowboys still can't get the one monkey off their back on beating a team on the road over 500 and convincingly, right? And I like Crafty's comment there. It came down to grit. 5 field goals for the Dolphins and a touchdown pass to Raheem Mostert, which, by the way, he's leading the NFL in touchdowns with 21. That was his 21st of the season. That's insane for a running back, whether it was a passing touchdown or a rushing touchdown. Combined 21 touchdowns, crazy stat. So good for them. Like you said, this was not a and what I feel like a lot of just like people like how you were saying fraud bowl. You know what I mean? Like, this is a fraud bowl. Who's going to win the fraud bowl? This really did come down to grittiness, like Crafty said. What happened when the Broncos were on that? They were winning 6 out of their 7 games. Every time they're in the end zone, red zone, and they couldn't punch it in for a touchdown, field goal. Another time, field goal. And what happened? They got the win at the end of the game. That's exactly what the Dolphins did. They got 5 field goals in this game. The game winner coming at the end off Sanders' foot. That's all they needed, man. Their defense, like you said, the defenses for both these teams played really damn well. There was a couple of mistakes. Dak Prescott's, like you said, his fumble in the red zone being one of them, at the goal line really being one of them. But both these teams played really well, especially on the defensive side. Vic Fangio for the Dolphins, man, that I feel like that defense playing for him and how it's kind of leveled out, it's going to be huge for the playoffs for the Dolphins. This is a good win for the Dolphins, and I don't want to go ahead and be one of those people that's like the Cowboys still can't win on the road, but all season they just have not been able to win on the road, man. It's been tough for them. So I don't know what that means for them in the playoffs. They still, I think, have the lead in the division.
I think
the Eagles do actually with the win, but they need that home game. They really need that home game.
Yeah, I think it's a combination. So, like, looking at the Cowboys' schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, the soda. 40-0 week 1.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Jets at home. They lost to the Cardinals on the road early, and then they beat the Patriots. But now look at this. Okay, the 49ers beat them. Cowboys were on the road.
Destroyed them. Yeah.
So, I mean, we're like, oh, the Cowboys can't win on the road. Everyone's going to lose that plays the 49ers most of the time.
Yeah.
And then the Cowboys win on the road against the Chargers. Then they win at home against the Rams. And then they lose on the road again, but it's the Eagles. I mean, okay, Eagles, 49ers, not a big deal. And then the Cowboys beat the Giants at home. And then they beat the Panthers on the road, beat the Commanders at home, and then beat the Seahawks at home, beat the Eagles at home, and then they lose on the road to the Bills. So you look at the 3 road losses, it's the Bills, Cowboys, 49ers. They only have one bad road loss. Yeah, Bills, Cowboys.
Bills, Eagles, 49ers.
Oh, yeah, Bills, Eagles, 49ers. They have one bad road loss, and it happened week 3. I think we can move on from it. So I there's some of it. I just think it's the way that the chips fell. Like, their losses happen to be on the road. And yeah, they're not playing as well as they do at home for sure.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to mention that because that is something about their schedule that people I don't hear people refer to that as much. Like, the Cowboys suck on the road. It's like it's the 49ers and the Eagles and the Bills.
But I also think that's a point of emphasis too, is who did they lose to? They lost to the Dolphins, they lost to the Eagles, they lost to the 49ers, and they lost to the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Cardinals, bad road loss is what it is. But you lost all your other ones to playoff teams. That's a huge, huge thing. And at home, you're beating the Seahawks, you're beating the Eagles, you're beating good teams at home, right?
Yeah, they outplayed the Eagles too in the game they lost.
They did.
They lost that game.
Yeah, and again, the loss is the loss, and when it comes down to the playoffs, it just, I think, like I said, I think a home game for the Cowboys, they have to win the division. It's going to be huge for them if they can win the division instead of a wild card. Can they beat? I don't know, the Lions in Detroit? Maybe. Can they beat the Bucks in Tampa Bay? Maybe. Can they beat the Eagles? Can they beat the 49ers at all in San Francisco or in Philly? Those are going to be those tough games where you're looking at it where you're like, oh shit, here we go, right? You know what I mean? So the Detroit Bucks game, those will be close games, but 49ers and Eagles, at their home stadium, those are the ones you're looking at where you're like, might be a first round exit, Jim.
Yeah, I don't think they exit in the first round. I think they could still go to the Super Bowl, but their defense, to me, I would still take the Niners over. But it seems like when the Niners are without Trent Williams, they collapse. Like,
yeah,
he's the most important left tackle I've ever seen in my entire life.
He's got to win MVP for that fucking team.
He should win MVP. I think he should. Like,
yeah.
We're like, is it Brock Purdy or is it? It's like, is there a third option?
Trent Williams has entered the chat.
Yes. And don't worry, we're gonna get to that game, but we have one more we got to do before that.
Sorry, Bill.
That is exactly. Sorry, Bill. That is the Philadelphia Eagles. You know what, though? Don't be sorry, Bill. Don't be sorry, Bill. Because DeVito, I thought the Eagles hung on. They hung in this game. And people are going to say, oh, the Eagles can't close. They had a 20-3 lead going into halftime. And that's been the story for a lot of the Eagles games. They start to come away with a lead, but then all of a sudden they let teams come back into the game, including a lot of fourth quarter drives to lose at the end. But the Eagles hung in there, but compared to the Giants, getting blown up 40-0 week 1, I think this was an entertaining game. This was a fun game to watch. There was a ton of yards scored. AJ Brown, I think AJ Brown almost had a 100-yard game. Devontae Smith had a bunch of yards. Dallas Goedert had over 80 yards, I think, maybe even 100. There was just a lot of good football, and I thought DeVito, he hung in there. I thought Saquon Barkley played a really big role. He was huge for them. And Tyrod Taylor, not bad.
Not bad, yeah.
Not bad at all. But DeVito got, his benching really hurt because we all had a parlay in for DeVito to throw one passing touchdown. And
no.
Yeah, and then he didn't come back out. And I'm like, what the fuck? What is Tyrod Taylor doing? And then it felt like Tyrod wouldn't throw the ball for like the first 3-4 drives. Like, he wasn't even pushing the ball downfield, but he was willing to run. And I thought he did a good job bringing this team back. And yeah, the Eagles get a win, but you feel exactly the same about both these teams. You're like, yeah, we knew the Eagles were going to win this game, but they're struggling. That found a way to show up in this game. We got to be reminded that the Eagles are not a powerhouse right now. And for the Giants, they hung in there, but no new information from this game.
Yeah, not really. The Eagles stopped their 3-game losing streak, which is great for them. And again, great for where they are at right now in the playoffs. Currently, they're leading the division. They've got a home game. If the playoffs were to start today, they have a home game right now. They're the leaders in the NFC East. So it's a good win for them. Hurts threw for 301 yards, a touchdown pass. He did have an interception, and he had a push touchdown that has given him the record for most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in a season. So good for Jalen Hurts. He got that record. Swift, Gainwell,
make him a 90 overall on Madden.
Yeah. Shit, with the tush push, he's a 99.
He's an 88. Right.
DeAndre Swift and Kenneth Gainwell combined for 133 rush yards, averaged over 5 yards per carry. Devontae Smith, you mentioned, that a receiving touchdown. So offensively, the Eagles looked much better in this game. Was it against the Giants? Yes. But like you said, the Giants hung in there. They were making the Eagles look, offense. Like they made them look like they were struggling, and they did have a pick 6 for 76 yards. Adoree Jackson gave the Giants a little spark there late in the third quarter. But you mentioned it. Tyrod Taylor coming in the game for a benched Tommy Tuds, Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito. It's not a good look for Tommy. It's not a good look for the good kid from down the block, Tommy. And I think the Tommy DeVito mania is probably over at this point. Who knows what happens over the offseason? Who knows what happens next season? And it's just what's been going on with the quarterback play this season is just so up and down where we're like, what I will say is, and you hear this a lot, the NFL is so good at getting these guys, this Tommy DeVito guy, someone that lives with his mom and loves his mom's cutlets and is an NFL quarterback, into the limelight for like 4 or 5 weeks in a row. You know what I mean? Like, no, like you blink and the next, and the next thing you know, it's like this kid from the University of Illinois who barely threw the ball in college is now a superstar in the NFL for 4 weeks. Sure. But you're just like, wow, that's crazy what they do to superstars in the NFL, how they just put them in the limelight and it works. But
yeah, it is weird.
Yeah. It's just that they're so good at doing that, making their players shine. But Giants lose again. Eagles get in the division lead and hopefully can keep it for the rest of the season, because the Cowboys know they need a home playoff game, but the Eagles know that they've been struggling as of late, and a home playoff game would be huge for them too.
Yeah, and for Philly, they, like you said, they're able to stop the bleeding, and hopefully they can try to build on this and finish with 3 wins.
Mm-hmm.
One more stat. Adoree Jackson reached a top speed of 20.92 miles per hour on his 76-yard pick six.
Wow.
The third fastest speed on a pick six this season, and the fastest play by a Giants ball carrier this season.
That's insane.
That's fast. He makes
that's
fast people look not fast.
Look not fast. I get it. He's fast. All right, Kyle, let's get to it.
All right. We are going to discuss the Super Bowl. This is the Baltimore Ravens beating the 49ers. This is Brock Purdy getting benched late in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to judge this game, because I think the 49ers are better than the Ravens.
Say it.
But Lamar, he's definitely playing good football right now. Mm-hmm. The Ravens are playing good. But we saw this 49ers team lose 3 in a row with Trent Williams. Trent Williams left this game, and like the whole offense falls apart. It is like Jenga, and Trent Williams is the one piece that makes the whole tower crumble. It's not the quarterback. Mm-hmm. It's not the weapons. It's not CMC. Trent Williams. And I've never seen an offensive lineman have such a big fingerprint on an offense like the way Trent Williams does. And the Ravens defense had a really great game. Credit all of the players. Kyle Hamilton. Man, I remember when the Ravens drafted him, I was pissed, dude. Because Kyle Hamilton was supposed to go like 4 overall, and they got him at like 16. Like, he fell.
Holy shit.
And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why are people passing on this guy? And it wasn't even like, oh, he just happened to pop. He was the number 1 ranked safety. We knew he was one of the most polished players in the draft, and he's quickly becoming one of the NFL's best. And he's a piece you can build a whole defense around. And then you look to the other side of the ball and you have Lamar, strong skill players, strong leadership, well coached. Looks like they're going to have home field advantage for a lot of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely the team to beat. And after this game, they made themselves the team to beat in the NFL, not even in the AFC. They have had games where they haven't looked that great, and San Francisco has had games where they've dominated. So I'm not going to read into this game too hard. I will say if they played again next week, I would pick the Niners if Trent Williams was healthy. But I also just don't like the Ravens, so there's a little bit of that probably mixed in there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl.
The Baltimore Ravens are the best team in the NFL. Lamar Jackson deserves some serious MVP consideration. He doesn't have the numbers. He doesn't have the numbers. No, you're not taking this away from me. Kyle hates the Ravens. And look, the Ravens mashed. They dominated the 49ers. They did. They had about 100 yards less offensive yardage than the 49ers and still rolled them over 33-19. The defense, like you said, with Kyle Hamilton coming up huge. 3 of the first 4 drives against Purdy, they intercepted him. Lamar Jackson threw for a touchdown. 2 touchdowns. 1 touchdown by Edwards, 1 receiving touchdown by Flowers and Aguilar. Like, he threw 2 touchdown passes in the span of 18 seconds in the third quarter. Like, that's just insane. They intercepted Brock Purdy a total of 4 times. And again, this defense is setting the tone, man, against these good teams. The Ravens are now 6-1 versus teams that are currently in the playoff picture. I think that 1 loss is against the Browns, and they're outscoring them by over 16 points. Dude, the Ravens are the best team in the NFL right now. Like, it's become fact that the Ravens are the best team in the NFL right now.
Boo!
Boo this man. As far as the 49ers, Purdy had his roughest game of the year. And yes, you mentioned it. What's his face? The lineman. He was out, right? He was out with an injury in this game. And it's just becoming apparent that Trent Williams on the left side of the line is a huge part of the reason this offense is so successful. Purdy threw 4 interceptions. First time in a game since Colin Kaepernick in 2015. He ended with 255 yards, replaced by Sam Darnold after getting a stinger in the fourth quarter. And it may have been the stinger. It may have just been how fucking like Kyle Shanahan was looking at him being like, "Ooh," you know what I mean? Like,
good.
Darnold did look pretty good.
Did you see Cam Newton tweeting during the game?
I fucking hate Cam Newton. Let me actually remind me of that at the end of this little analysis, because
I'm going to bookmark it. Yeah,
I'm so done with fucking Cam Newton. But yeah, Sam Darnold looked all right? Like, a lot of talk of him getting acquired during the offseason was like, even Sam Darnold couldn't be successful in this offense with Kyle Shanahan. For the most part, he looked decent. Christian McCaffrey running for over 100 yards, getting a touchdown. And he actually set a franchise record, 8th straight game with at least 100 yards from scrimmage. So CMC becoming another huge asset for the 49ers and really becoming one of the best players in the NFL. So for me, dude, the Ravens, and I know you hate to hear this, it's as if you were saying the Packers for me. The Ravens are the best team in the NFL right now. They're beating playoff teams by a wide margin. And by the looks of it, they're going to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs until the Super Bowl. But Lamar Jackson, serious MVP consideration for what he's done with his team. Yes, the offense, we've talked about it. Some games does not look good. Mark Andrews is a big part of it, but you got Isaiah Likely, you got Gus Edwards, and the other running back, I'm not remembering his name right now. They look decent. They look pretty decent in the running game. Like, the running game continues to be something that teams cannot stop with the Ravens. Flowers, Aguilar, OBJ, like I mentioned, Likely, like all these guys are making huge impacts on this offense. And it's just continually adding to why the Ravens are that good of a team.
I'm trying to remember that running back's name.
Not Tank Dell. That's a wide receiver.
Not Tank.
Gus Edwards and Hill.
Is it like City Hill,
right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm like City, Town, Hill.
Yeah. As far as Cam Newton, dude, like I just he was tweeting that emoji, right? Like during the game of Brock Purdy's 4th interception. Why doesn't he tweet something like that when Brock Purdy's got 5 touchdowns in a game? He's got over 300 yards. Cam Newton is literally the definition of a fucking hater, and I'm sick of him. I really, back when he was still on the Panthers and he was not getting any MVP votes or whatever the fucking case was with him, I was like, why is Cam Newton not getting MVP votes? Look what he's doing for the Panthers. He is a fucking great quarterback. He's doing really great things in Carolina. He went to a Super Bowl. Like, he was doing really great. But now, dude, it's just like, fuck, man, we get it. Your NFL career was not what you wanted. Leave everybody else alone. Stop being such a fucking hater. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm just getting sick and tired of seeing Cam Newton on the timeline.
Dude, I hear you. It's like, not all content creators do it, but when your like soul recipe is like shock and awe, and you just say like wild shit, just to
say it, just for
just
clicks.
To say it, yeah. I like, and it also just comes across like that you are a bitter old man that like is a hater. Like who wants to be a hater? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying,
why be
man.
a hater when you could just celebrate people's success? And
how you gonna hate from outside the club, bro?
You can't even get in.
You can't even get in.
Let go. Yellow, sipping. That shit looks like a two-day. Toupee, I get what you get in 10 years in 2 days. Ladies love me. I'm on my cool J's. If you get what I get, what would you? Every time I gotta get it, then I gotta go and I gotta blow. And you know that I gotta get this. I gotta murder anything.
Shut the fuck up. Cam Kaepernick can lick me where I poop. Bill, I love it. That
Colin
does get an LOL.
can lick me where I poop. Cam Kaepernick. All right. Well, that is fittingly going to conclude our Week 16 predictions.
Recap.
That is going to conclude our Week 16 recap.
And if you guys enjoyed that, please make sure to subscribe, like, and share the video. Love it.
Can't agree more.
Let's go. Let's go.
Oh,
Let's go. All right. So, Rick.
Yes.
What are we going to do now?
All right, Kyle. We usually don't do this, but I figured we'd do it, today. Let's do our Thursday night football predictions. And this week, Thursday night football, we've got the Jets going to Cleveland and taking on the Browns.
All right. Wait. We can't do it until we look at the crystal ball.
Let's do it. Ready? Are you ready?
Ready.
Thursday night football tomorrow. The Jets going to Cleveland, visiting the Browns. And Kyle, the Browns.
We don't care.
The Browns can punch their ticket to the playoffs with a win on Thursday night football. And the Jets just coming off a win. It was a 20-point lead that they blew, but they ended up coming up with the win. And I think we're both going to go Browns here at home, Joe Flacco. I swear to God.
Who did the Jets just beat?
The Jets had just beat the hot damn motherfucking Commanders. Okay. With Jacoby Brissett, too. So let's not forget about that.
And then the week before that, who did they beat?
I don't know if they beat anybody. Did they beat somebody?
I think they did. I think they did.
Check.
Week 15. I think they had themselves a big win.
A dub, if you will.
A dub.
Let me double check here. No, Dolphins beat them 30-0, remember?
exactly my point. I thought the week before that, did they get a dub? Yeah, they beat Houston 30-6. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay.
Jets have 2 wins in their last 3 weeks against the Commanders and Houston, both of those at home. They only had 1 road game in the last 3 games. That was a loss, 30-0. And if you go back to their 2 away games before the Miami game, those are also losses. Their last road victory was against the Giants, 13-10. And because of all that, I'm going to go with Cleveland. They're hot. They're better. Joe Flacco's playing good ball. If this game was in Jets, I might entertain something because they do have 2 wins in their last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But time and place, I think it's all in Cleveland's side.
Yeah, 100%. I'm totally going with the Browns here. They know what's at stake here. They're gonna go to the playoffs if they win this game. Will they win the AFC North? No, but they're gonna be one of the hottest teams in the playoffs as a wild card, and they're gonna be one of those teams that you don't want to play, right? We talk about that every year. What's a team you don't want to play that is a wild card right now? This team. The Browns are at the top of that list, probably followed or even with the Bills if they get in there too. But again, the Browns at home, Joe Flacco playing the way he has, unless the Jets can absolutely take advantage of turnovers against Flacco, I think even then, like I still think this Browns defense can absolutely just pummel the Jets offense. Robert Salah is going to go another game without any touchdowns scored. I think the Browns hold him to maybe like 3 field goals. I'm going Browns 27-9.
27-9.
It's going to be a whooping.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take the Browns to win. I'm going to say 29-12.
Ooh.
Can't agree more.
Can't agree more, Kyle. Oh, all right. What's a team you don't want to play in the wild card? The 2007 Giants. Sorry, I had to do it 100%, Bill. I love it. All right, Kyle. It's time for the little chives. What do you got for the little chives, Kyle? What do you got for the little chives here to end the show off?
All right, to end the show off. What about top five? Top five.
Oh, did we forget about the top five?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Top 5, no debating. Top 5.
Top five. Can't remember who went first last week. You want me to go first this one?
Yeah. If you go first, that would be lovely.
At number 5. No, I've been really, really struggling with this one. Okay. I am going to put at number 5, I have the Eagles.
Ooh, okay.
The Eagles got to win. We know that there's room for improvement, but we also judge them a lot more harsh than we do other teams because we expect greatness from them. And that's why they're at number 5, because I do think if you had to take 5 teams that, for $1 million, if you guess the Super Bowl winner right, you get $1 million. You would have the Eagles as one of your 5 guesses, I'm guessing. And then the fact that they're going to close the season against the Cardinals and Giants probably is going to give them a guaranteed 13-4 season. And that's going to be good enough to win the East, maybe by a couple games. So, yeah, the Eagles are the second best team in the NFC, and they're still playing with the 49ers losing. They could still be a 1 seed and the playoffs run through Philly. If that happens, Philly's path back to the Super Bowl seems likely.
Ooh, I like it. I think you're going to like this one, Kyle. My number 5 is going to go to the Browns. The Browns are my number 5 team right now. The Browns with Joe Flacco, what they've been able to do. The defense we already knew was a great defense. They've been able to just kill it. Absolutely kill it this entire season. Yes, there's games where they haven't looked great, but right now, the goddamn Browns have 10 wins? They have 10 wins. They're 10-5 right now, where all season they have had questions of quarterbacks. Is it Dorian Thompson-Robinson? Is it PJ Walker? Sean Watson's injured one week. He's good the other week. And now you have Joe Flacco and you're slinging the ball, getting touchdowns to Amari Cooper, getting him over half the touchdowns in his season in the last 2 games. Like, it's just it's a good story. Coach. And they've got the coach. Stefanski's doing a really, really good job right now. And there's been times, earlier this season and even last season where I was like, is Stefanski the guy? But no, he's doing really well with the situation that is arisen for them, right? Chubb is out. Deshaun Watson's out. They have injuries to the offensive line. They have injuries to the defense. And yet they are a double-digit win team. That's why the Browns are number 5 for me.
All right. Rick has a Chubb. Number 4, I have the Detroit Lions.
Love it.
The Detroit Lions have grit. They have guts, balls, strength, testosterone, everything that you could possibly need. They represent Detroit. Tough city, blue collar, steel factory. Maybe I'm getting too deep into this, but
ticking balls.
I do you know a little bit how a team can like embody a city.
Oh yeah,
like Pittsburgh and those Steeler teams, and I think that's kind of the vibes I'm getting in when you think about which teams really embodied the city, like the Patriots, like the Packers, like those Steelers. Those are Super Bowl like eras. And I do think that we're getting into a potential Super Bowl era for the Detroit Lions in this team. Because this is not let's win a Super Bowl with a bunch of dudes that are in their prime and then we'll have to rebuild. This is not what the Rams did. This is the other way to build a team from the ground up. I think they're going to be good for quite some years, and I do think they're going to win a Super Bowl this year. I'm not sure if they do, but I like their chances. Lions at 4.
I love it. My number 4 team was a part of the Fraud Bowl.
Ooh.
Dolphins, man. The Dolphins, Crafty said it earlier in the comments. They won off grit. They really did. The 5 field goals, the touchdown of Raheem Mostert, who has the most touchdowns in the NFL right now. Like that is just a gritty win. Tyreek Hill had just under 100 yards, but this was a win for the Dolphins that proves you didn't need Tyreek Hill. You didn't need Jalen Waddle. You didn't need Tua to go insane, right? Like the defense and the kicking game was too damn good. And yes, good touchdown, but the defense and the kicking game were the stars for this Dolphins team. That's why I've got them at number 4.
All right. Rick likes to do the gritty. Number 3, I have the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, okay.
Got to raise them. They beat the Cowboys. They're a real football team. They're playing for the number 1 seed, even though the Ravens are playing such good football. Miami has a chance to take that seed next week on Sunday. The Ravens are, like you said, one of the toughest teams, so this is a great test. And the fact that I put them at 3 lets you know that I do think that this is going to be a ball game. And if I thought that it would be a blowout potentially, I wouldn't have the Dolphins that high.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a good game. I think what Tyreek Hill's doing is he's by far the greatest addition any team could have at the receiver position. I mean, he's so good. And the chemistry, I see all these shorts of like the way things unfold on game day, like the way they call plays, and they're like, Jalen Waddle, this is gonna be a 1-play drive, and they drop a play, and Jalen Waddle goes for 75 yards. Like the chemistry, the bonding. They go to Heat games.
Mm-hmm.
They really do like kind of they have a really good Miami vibe to them, and it's just it all works. It really does, and I don't know what their ceiling is because we don't know. But don't forget, Tua came in for Jalen Hurts and came back in a national championship and won that game. You don't do something like that and then just not have it in you later. Like that's something you either have or you don't. Tua does have it, and he might need to win a Super Bowl before people consider him a actual threat at the quarterback position. It's kind of like Brock Purdy. We're going to keep talking about Debo and CMC instead of Tua. But I think Tua has a great opportunity this year to get some national respect as maybe a top 10 quarterback. And I think the Dolphins are going to be as good as Tua is in these next couple of weeks, and big test against the Ravens coming up.
Fins go as Tua go. I like it. Live got at number 3. We just flipped 3 and 4, Kyle. I've got the Lions. Got the Lions at number 3. I think I had them there last week, and this week where they clinched the division, first time in 30 years. Their head coach was on that 0-16 team, knows loss to the fullest extent on a football team, and now has the taste of sweet victory as the division winners in the NFC North for the first time in 30 years. That's just a great story, man, and I'm keeping them in there at number 3, plus all the cool shit you said.
All the cool shit I said. At number 2, I have the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, no.
Let's go, Raven fans. Let's go. Put it in the comments. I know you guys love this, so you're going to see this after, and you're like, well, we just destroyed the 49ers. Yeah, you did. I don't care.
I don't care.
I think the 49ers
not fucking leaving.
The better football team. And I think that they had a bad game. That's, to me, Trent Williams. I know Crafty was like, he wasn't playing good before that, but I think they would have been able to turn the game around. I don't think the 49ers were going to get dominated. The only times they've been dominated is without Trent Williams. I think if Trent Williams plays in this game, if they get a do-over, if this is indeed the Super Bowl, I could be wrong, but I would go with the 49ers in that rematch. And that's why I'm putting them at number 2, because ultimately it's not about that win. It's about who would I take if they played right now. I would take the 49ers, just like if any other, bad team beat a good team, you wouldn't be like, oh, now they're better. It's just one game. And yeah, it was a measuring stick game, and the 49ers were way off. And I do think with good coaching and all the talent they have all the tools that they need to make some minor adjustments. They are the most dangerous team in the NFL because Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in football. And I just don't see how I could move them out from that number 1 spot. And if they let's say the Ravens destroy the Dolphins and the 49ers lose again, I'll probably have to adjust. But for right now, I'm not going to overreact to one football game.
Well, I know the 49ers would have not come back in that game because that Ravens defense is outstanding. The 49ers are my number 2 team. That game was just solid. It was just a damn good game that the Ravens played. Their defense picked off Brock Purdy, someone who we have been rallying for MVP votes, for MVP consideration, and they absolutely killed him. They killed him, dude. He wasn't out until the 4th quarter. It was just an absolute dominating game by the Ravens defense, and Lamar Jackson, that offense, did everything they needed to do. They scored 4 total touchdowns. I thought when I tuned into the game, it was 5-3. I was like, who the fuck 5-3? You know what I mean? Like, it was just a weird game for me.
Soccer?
But yeah, what is this? Goal!
Goal!
The 49ers, don't get me wrong. We've both experienced that 3-game losing streak earlier in the season, and they went down in our ratings, in our rankings, sorry, during that stretch. Then they came back up. They were a number 1 team for weeks there, and they're going to be your number 1 team this week. But for me, they're number 2 this week because of that loss against the Ravens. It's a tough loss. Brock Purdy didn't look great. The coaching really didn't look great. Kyle Shanahan seemed lost. And yes, CMC is probably one of the best players in the NFL right now, but takes a team to win that game, and that team just could not win that game. 49ers at 2.
And yeah, Bill right here. Purdy had tips go the wrong way, and sometimes it's like that.
He did.
Sometimes the ball really just doesn't bounce your way. Sometimes what can go wrong
100%.
does go wrong. But I'm with you. The Ravens had a statement win, that's for sure. And I have the 49ers at 1, obviously. So you and I just have those 2 flipped, but
we have the Super Bowl teams at 1 and 2.
Yep. Super Bowl teams at 1 and 2. We predicted it right. The NFL's rigged script came out 9 months ago. But yeah, that is that is our top 5.
Top 5, no debating. Top 5.
Let us know if you agree in the comment section. Let us know who's right, who's wrong. If you're a Ravens fan, just go nuts.
And let us know in the comments why Kyle is wrong.
Let me know why
Ravens
I am
2.
right. Is wrong.
All right, Kyle. It is time for the chives with Kyle. We're gonna have Bill's chives here later on too, but go ahead, Kyle. Hit it.
All right. So my chives aren't even about football. So I for Christmas, something really cool happened. So one of my brother's good friends, he's a professional country music singer, and at my in Whitby, there was all these different songs that I had on my playlist that I would hear all the time, and I loved it because some of his music videos were shot at the St. John's River in Jacksonville, and it just it's so cool. And I never got to, since his music career took off, I never got to see him. So he came over and he was in the studio. This is the studio. And I got a video of him playing. I haven't even played it yet. But let's see. Let's see how it sounds.
Taken down for this.
That's my brother singing.
One of the original line was, if I could write checks like money and shit. Now it's MG5 flying high, 10-figure signs like a billionaire. You weren't there. I'd rather be broke, penny pinching just to stay up.
It was awesome, dude.
That's awesome.
It was so crazy. It was because it sounded exactly the same way it sounds on the radio.
Yeah.
And dude, it was just asking him a million questions. He's done so many different passion products, and he's worked with Morgan Wallen and the whole country music scene. He just worked on another album, and there's actually a program he was telling me about, because I like to write songs too. And it's called Creative Veterans or something. And you partner with country music singers, and they turn your story into a song, and then they put it on an album if your song wins. So he got me like all hooked up and stuff like that. So it was so cool. But yeah, he only lives like 10 minutes away, and when he's not touring, he's, you know, chopping trees down and having bonfires, and it's just cool. Like the life of a musician. It's like,
Yeah.
to no one is like wild, because it was like we had a guy in a lot of people probably know who Zach Bryan is. He was in our squadron
Yeah.
at VP 47. So really, really, really cool. His name's Jordan Fletcher, if you wanna check him out. But yeah, dude, it was just such an awesome Christmas, and I wanted to tell that little story because it was so trippy, dude. It was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I've listened to this so many times, and now
it's right here in front of me.
Yeah, it was wild.
I thought it was funny because you're like, yeah, and you know, when it's off time, he chops trees and does bonfire. I was like, oh, so he lives in a country music video. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, my brother was like so stoked to have a bonfire because he lives in Miami, in the city. So it's like, I want to have a bonfire. I want to get away from the city. And we called him. We were like, hey, we need to get wood. And he was like, I'll bring a truckload of it. I just chopped down my neighbor's tree. And my brother's like, I'm going to come.
Wood to the bonfire. Gonna have a good time with the radio up. All right. That was
awful.
Here's Bill's Chives. And I think this is fun. Bill's Chives, again, about tater tots. They were not invented until 1953. Humanity had to survive thousands of years without tater tots. It's a miracle we made it this far. Bill, I 100% agree with you. Kyle, what do you think about those tater tots? Let's give it up for Bill.
I love it. I love it. We are going to have to incorporate tater tot shirts.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Who's hot and who's tot? No, I gotta work on it.
Who's tot? Who's not?
See you, tater.
See you, tater. I love it. All right, guys. Well, that was the episode, and we're at 2.5 hours. And if you stuck by us through the recap, through the top 5, through Thursday night predictions, all the way to Kyle's Chives and Bill's Chives, thank you so much for sticking with us. We appreciate all the comments. We appreciate all the likes. We appreciate all the shares. And I hope you guys had a great holiday weekend, whatever holiday you celebrate. I hope it was awesome. I hope you guys were surrounded by friends, family, loved ones, pets, football, most importantly. Let's remember that one. But you know, I had a really chill one here with the wife. We didn't travel anywhere, and it was really nice. We did like a puzzle for 6 hours. It was nice. We were watching like Will Ferrell movies, a scary, but like it was just like awesome. It was like a really low key, chill holiday weekend for me, again, with football and my wife and the pets, of course. So I hope the same was for all you guys. Kyle, I'm sure you just said it. You had an awesome holiday weekend.
No, the Broncos lost. It was
okay. You had a good holiday weekend.
No, it was awesome. I had my aunt and uncle came in town from Milwaukee, and then we had my brother come from Miami, and then my other aunt and uncle that live here were here. So we had 10 animals in the house.
Wow.
And like 8 people. Yeah, it was insane. That's crazy. Why it was like, I didn't want to be, I didn't want to be streaming and then them feel like, oh, I drove all the way here and not even getting quality time.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for bearing with, the lack of streams this weekend. What's up?
You said bearing and I said rar.
Oh. Bears fan, can't help it. He's like, you can't even say barely embarrassing, nothing with bear in it. He starts
rar.
But yeah, it was awesome. It was a much needed reset, but happy to shift gears now because we got 2 more weeks and we're getting into the playoffs, and we got to squeeze the most juice out of this season because it's slipping right through our fingers. Right before you know it, it's gone, and then we're watching March Madness.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like Kyle said, thank you guys for bearing with us through the stream. It's obviously the holiday time, so we are definitely like prioritizing our family and spending time with them. So I'm glad you guys understood. And you guys are always welcome back, and you guys are always back, and we always appreciate that. Kyle, always a good time. And you guys could follow us on X at and now Rick and at Only Football KR. Kyle, where can they follow you on X?
You can follow me at FTBLONLYPODCAST. Why don't I get fireworks when I look like such an idiot when it doesn't work?
Go follow us on X. Subscribe to our YouTube. We got some new Twitch followers as well, which is we really appreciate. We're growing on every platform. And soon, like Bill said earlier, we're only 37 subs away from 500. We're going to be able to bring memberships, super chats, and possibly some merch. Possibly. Maybe. I don't know. So get excited. Get your friends and families to subscribe, because we're only growing and it's only going to get better from here. Right, Kyle?
Yep. Rick is growing. Let's get out of here before it gets weird.
Kyle, always a good time, brother. I'll see you next time.
See you, Tater.
See ya.